Today I wanted to kick off my Forensic February readathon reading vlog. That was a mouthful, but basically this reading vlog is going to cover all of the books that I read for Forensic February, which is a readathon that's hosted by Chloe from Chloe Reads Books. I will leave all the details linked in the description just in case you would like to find out more. But basically this is a board game based readathon. So you move around the board, you choose prompts as you go, and it's all themed around solving a case. So really love the concept of this readathon and very excited, that nearly fell off, very excited to kick off this reading vlog. I am going to be rolling as I go, so I guess it would make sense to cut to me doing my first roll, which I did a few nights ago because I needed a new book to listen to on my way to work. We're going to cut to that now and then I will pop in and tell you what I ended up choosing for that prompt. Okay, so roll number 1 for Forensic February, and we have a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is gather evidence, read a book with additional information, either a map or a glossary. So roll number 1 landed on gather evidence, which means I need to read a book that has additional information. So things like a map or a glossary, anything other than just standard prose, stuff that you have to refer back to, basically. And the book that I chose for this was Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. This is technically the second book in a series, however it does work as a standalone. In fact, one of the first things that the book tells you is how you should approach a successful sequel. If you have not heard of this series, it's basically following a guy called Ernest Cunningham, and in the first book he introduces himself as this author who writes non-fiction books aimed at aspiring authors who are wanting to understand the best way to write mystery novels, and he ends up getting caught up in his own murder mystery. He goes to a family reunion and someone dies, and it turns into this murder mystery in this isolated setting, and it was very meta. I really liked the tone of it. I listened to the audiobook, which is what I'm going to be doing with this book. It's written as if he is talking directly to you, so he's breaking the fourth wall, and it was just really fun the way that it was written. So very excited that I am very quickly getting round to the second book because I only read the first book in January. I double checked and this does have a character list right at the beginning, so it works for this prompt. And yeah, we're basically following Ernest as he is on this train going across Australia, and there's a bunch of other authors who are also on this train. It's like a literary festival on wheels, or do trains have wheels? It's basically a literary festival that they are taking part in, and then someone at some point is going to turn up dead. I haven't got to that part yet. I've only read the first few chapters, but already I am enjoying being back in Ernest's head. Struggling with my words today, but yeah, I'm really enjoying this so far, and I will check in with you once I have some more thoughts because, as I said, I'm not that far into it yet. I have made it to the halfway point in Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, and I am enjoying this about as much as I enjoyed the first book. I think if you liked Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, then you're probably going to enjoy the second book. Although if you haven't read this series, if you have no idea what it's about, the way that I would pitch it is imagine the vibe of Knives Out and Glass Onion combined with Finlay Donovan is Killing It, maybe. I think this is a series that doesn't take itself too seriously. Sometimes the humour doesn't quite work for me and I want it to get to the point quicker, but I do think that it's cleverly written. I like how it references common mystery tropes and how it breaks the fourth wall. I think the characters in this aren't as memorable as in the first book. I think the first book, it was a lot easier to remember who everyone was, whereas in this one, I'm getting a little bit confused sometimes, but I'm still enjoying the audiobook. I think I have about an hour and a half left, so I'm just past the halfway point. I like that it takes place on a train and that we are going to a destination. The first book had a wintry setting because it takes place at this ski resort where there's a family reunion that's happening, whereas this one is on a train traveling through the Australian desert, and I think it would be quite a good summer read. Obviously I'm reading it in winter when it's grey and miserable outside, so not the perfect vibe, but yeah, I am enjoying it, and I don't at the moment really have many theories on what I think is going to happen. I find it easier when I'm listening to a mystery book on audio. I find it easier to switch off my brain and to not think too much. I think that's the problem I have sometimes with mysteries and thrillers. This isn't really a thriller, it's pure mystery. However, I do find sometimes sometimes if I'm reading a book physically, then I'm more likely to pick up on clues and I end up spoiling myself for the twist. However, the first book caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it, so I'm hoping a similar thing is going to happen with this second book. I have finished reading Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, and as predicted, I'm going to give it 4 stars, which is the same rating that I gave the first book. However, I think I preferred the first book just a little more. I thought the big reveal of the mystery was a lot more clever. With the first book, I got to the end and I could see all of the clues that the author had laid for us. And in this one, I could still see the clues that had been laid. However, I don't think there was ever any chance of me guessing what the big reveal was going to be. So that didn't feel as satisfying to me. Also, I think sometimes the humour in this series just isn't my cup of tea. But I liked that this one was about authors and we had a lot of characters who work within the publishing industry. I also like how it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's meant to be fun and I did have a fun time reading it. So yeah, 4 stars. We'll be picking up the Christmas novella at some point, probably in December when it's more seasonally appropriate. But I wanted to choose my next book because I'm driving to the office tomorrow and I need a new audiobook to listen to, seeing as how I've just finished this one. So we're going to cut to the next roll now and then I will pop back in and let you know what I've decided to read. Roll number 2, we have a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is Identify the Victim, read a book told in first person POV. Roll number 2 landed on Identify the Victim, which means I need to read a book that's told in first person POV. For some reason, this was a lot harder than I was expecting. I just had to listen to the first few seconds of several different audiobooks to find one that is told in first person POV, but I've managed to find one. So the book that I'm going for is The Centre by Aisha Manazir Siddiqui. I think I actually first came across this in a bookshop and it sounded really intriguing, but I hadn't heard anyone talking about it on Goodreads, not on Goodreads, on BookTube or on Goodreads or anywhere online. But I then heard a few people reading it and seemed to be enjoying it. So this is about a woman who is living in London and she's a translator, and she ends up hearing about this language school where they claim that they can make you fluent in any language in only 10 days. However, there is a secret sinister cost. So I'm very intrigued what that secret sinister cost means. This doesn't have the highest average rating on Goodreads. It has a 3.4 at the moment and just under 15,000 ratings. However, I often find with literary fiction, books do tend to have a lower average rating than other genres, so that doesn't put me off. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to enjoy it. So yeah, I am curious about this one. I don't know whether it's speculative. It says that it's dark, funny and surreal with page-turning twists and shocking revelations. So yeah, I'm going to make a start on it tomorrow and then I will check in with you once I have some thoughts. It's only 288 pages. How long is the audiobook actually? The audiobook is just under 9 hours long. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. So yeah, hopefully I can make good progress with this week. I am having one of those weeks where everything seems to be going wrong and I hate it and I'm tired and I just want to go back to bed, but I can't because I've got too much work to do. Just to give you an idea of how my week is going, I started driving to the office yesterday morning, got 10 minutes into my journey and realised I'd left my laptop at home. So I'm not having a good time. I'm tired, I'm hot because I've just got home. I had to go into town earlier to a doctor's appointment and I decided to treat myself to a fancy meal deal because why not? I deserve it. The good news is I am really enjoying my book at the moment. I started listening to the audiobook for The Centre yesterday and I don't know whether it's the writing style or the narrator, but there's something about this that feels very conversational. I feel like I'm listening to someone tell me their story. We're following this woman called Anisa who is from Pakistan, but she now lives in London and she's lived there since she was at uni, so around the age of 18. She works as a translator and her job is basically translating the subtitles on Bollywood films. Near the start of the book, she meets this guy and initially she's very impressed by him because he can speak multiple languages fluently as if he's a native speaker. Because it's his job, she assumes that he's some kind of savant and that he is just very talented at learning languages. However, he can't seem to grasp Urdu. She's tried teaching him a few different words and phrases, but he can't seem to grasp it until they start planning a holiday, or not holiday, but like a trip back to Pakistan. And he surprises her by being able to speak fluent Urdu. And initially her reaction is, you've been lying to me the whole time, because there's no way you can speak this language better than I can without having been able to speak it the whole time that we've known each other. Eventually he does confess that he learned to speak it at this place called the Centre, which is a very exclusive facility. You pay a lot of money to be able to go there, and they guarantee that within 10 days you'll be able to speak the language of your choice fluently. I am really enjoying this so far. I think the conversations around translation and language have been really interesting. I think the main character is a really layered character, and I'm very intrigued what direction this is going to go in. I don't know how dark it's going to get. I don't want it to go too over the top, because I don't tend to like books when they do that. If I see someone in a review say that a book is unhinged, it puts me right off because I want things to be just a little more realistic. I am running out of space on my memory card and I really want to eat my sandwich, so I'm going to wrap up this clip here, but if I have anything else to say, then I will check in with you later. It's the next day and I have read another 30-ish% of the Centre, and I'm still really enjoying it. However, I feel like it's moving away from what I wanted it to focus on. There was a part earlier where it was talking about the main character when she speaks in Urdu. She's used to speaking Urdu to her family, and so she struggles to talk about more adult topics when she's talking in Urdu. However, when she learnt French, she was an adult and she was living in Paris, and so her personality feels different when she's talking in different languages. And I thought that was really interesting, and I thought that was going to be the main message of the book. We're now moving towards getting answers as to what's going on at the Centre, and I don't think I really need to know. I don't think the point is what's going on at the Centre. I think when I looked on Goodreads, this is labelled as horror. It's not that I don't care what's going on at the Centre, I just want it to focus more on the conversations around language and translation. All of those parts I found really interesting, but it's now moving towards getting answers, and also it's focusing more on the characters' personal relationships, which again, I don't mind reading books about relationships or friendships. It's just not why I'm reading this particular book. It's not what I'm enjoying most about the book. So we'll see how this last 30% goes. I think I've got about 2 hours left of the audiobook. I've also realised I haven't really filmed much B-roll. In fact, I don't think I've filmed any B-roll for this vlog so far. Hopefully I will do something fun this weekend that I can take my camera to. I am going to Birmingham on Tuesday next week. I've booked the day off work. I'm going to go into Birmingham early and do some shopping and things like that, and then I'm going to an author event in the evening with Talia Hibbert and Sarah El-Arifi. I think it's to celebrate the release of Sarah El-Arifi's new book, which is a sequel to Feybound. I read that in December and it was okay, so I don't know whether I'm going to read the sequel, but maybe Sarah El-Arifi will convince me on Tuesday. We'll see how it goes. But when I saw that it was in conversation with Talia Hibbert, I love Talia Hibbert, so I have my ticket and I'm really looking forward to that on Tuesday. So I will definitely take my camera with me then. I don't actually know what I'm doing this weekend. I feel like I need to do a lot of life admin stuff. I don't think I've mentioned yet in this vlog, but me and my partner are going to Venice in a few weeks, and yeah, I'm really excited. But my car is also due for its MOT the week that we get back, so I need to get that booked in advance so that I don't miss it. I feel like I'm rambling now, so we'll wrap up this clip here and I will check in with you once I have some more reading updates. It is a very rainy day outside, so apologies if you can hear that in the background, but I really wanted to check in with you because I didn't speak to you yesterday. Yesterday was actually Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day as well. I don't think this vlog is going to go live until the end of February, so Valentine's Day has come and gone. I was actually going to film a video today, but I don't think I'm going to now because it's so rainy and dark outside. I think I'm just going to wait and see if it's a little bit brighter tomorrow. The main reason I wanted to check in with you though is I did end up finishing the Centre yesterday, and I'm going to give this 4 stars. I did really enjoy it, although enjoy is not the right word. If you are in any way squeamish, would not recommend this book. It was quite grim, and there was a particular part that I was listening to the other night. I did not need to hear that. But anyway, yeah, like I did enjoy this more in the beginning. I felt like like it was losing me towards the end, although I did like the way that it wrapped up certain things, and I liked the general direction it went in. I just thought that the book's main strength was how it was talking about language and translation. I've actually seen some negative reviews from people saying that they wanted it to focus more on the centre, and I guess I'd agree, because I did find the language and translation stuff the most interesting thing, but I also quite enjoyed how it was about this main character and her life and her friendships and her relationships. I just wanted that to relate more to the language and the translation. 4 stars, like I said, and I would recommend it if you like dark literary fiction. I wouldn't say that this is full-on horror, but it is quite horrifying, so yeah, take from that what you will. I need to choose a new book now, obviously. I've already done the roll. I did it the other night because I was hoping to get a new audiobook, but yeah, we'll find out what that roll is and then I will come back in and explain what's happening. Roll number 3, we have a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is questioning time. Read a book with a question in the title or interview. Roll number 3 landed on questioning time, which means I need to read a book that has a question in the title or that has some kind of interview-based story. And do you know how difficult it is to find a book that has a question mark in the title? I really struggled. So I was thinking about picking up a crime thriller or something like that, because they do tend to have some kind of interview within the story. However, I then realised there is a book on my TBR that I've been meaning to read for ages. I think this is actually one of my dad's favourite books, and it's a very short one, so it would be ideal to read for the readathon. But the book I'm talking about is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the novel that inspired Blade Runner. I've never actually watched it, but I've heard it's really good and I would be interested in watching it. However, I would like to read the book first. I've heard they're quite different. I think this is dystopian. My dad explained to me a while ago what this was about, and I can remember thinking, wow, that sounds really interesting. I really want to read that. And it's only less than 200 pages. It's like 180 pages, I think. Let me double check. 190 something pages. So I could read this really quickly. However, I am currently reading another book physically, which is huge, and I'm only about a third of the way through. So I don't know whether I want to read 2 physical books side by side. Usually I have one audiobook and one physical book or ebook on the go, and I don't know whether I'm going to confuse myself if I try and read this alongside that. I'm going to think about it some more, and then the next time you see me, either I will have started this and possibly even finished it, or I'll have changed my mind and picked up another book. We will see what I decide. If I do decide to pick this up, then I will probably do another roll now so I can pick an audiobook, and then I'll just edit this vlog so that it is a more smooth timeline. Hopefully you will have seen from the B-roll that I did end up starting Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I am actually reading this on my Kindle because I just find it more comfortable, but I thought I would hold up the physical copy to save me having to edit and put a picture on the screen. But yeah, I'm about 20% of the way through this and I'm enjoying it so far, but I think I'm enjoying the concept more than the writing or the execution. It's basically set in this futuristic world where there was a war, and following this war, humanity, most of humanity, left Earth and moved to colonies on places like Mars and other planets. And to help with this transition, these companies created androids. I don't know whether it's been explained and I haven't understood it, or whether it's just not been explained yet, but I don't quite understand why these androids were made, but some of these androids have managed to come back to Earth. The main character that we're following is a bounty hunter who is tasked with tracking down these androids. The problem is that technology has advanced so far that it's very difficult to distinguish these androids from humans. There was a really interesting scene that I read where they were explaining this test that they use, which is like an empathy test, and that's what they use at the moment to distinguish between between humans and androids. What motivates our main character is many animals are now either extremely rare or extinct, and he only has an electric sheep, which, because owning an animal is seen as like a status symbol, he has this electric sheep which he pretends is a real sheep, and he really wants to replace it with a real animal. So yeah, I am enjoying this. I feel like this is going to be a book about what it means to be human, which is interesting because I recently read Annibot, and that also has a similar theme, even though these are very, very different. So glad that I picked this up. I will probably check in with you now once I've finished it. I have also already done The Next Roll, and I've started reading that book, but I will tell you about that later in the vlog. I haven't finished the book yet, but I have come across many, many sentences like this that have made me cringe. Why? It took me a lot longer to finish this book than I was expecting, but I have now finished Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and I don't know what I'm going to rate it. I'm going to talk to my dad at the weekend because I feel like I need to talk to someone about this with spoilers, and obviously I can't do that in this vlog. I did like it. I thought the setting was very visual. I could picture it really clearly in my mind. The humans in this book, the way that they distinguish themselves from androids is humans feel empathy. They even have this religion, I think it is, where everyone has a mood box in their home, and if you touch this mood box, then you feel the feelings of everyone else in the world who's touching their mood box at that particular time. And so it's really talking about empathy. However, these bounty hunters lack empathy for the androids that they're hunting down. And yeah, I thought that was a really interesting comparison. There were some really interesting moments in this. There were also some moments that felt very abrupt. Characters would come to a conclusion or they would say something which to me felt very out of the blue, except it wasn't really, because it was still relevant to what was going on, but I didn't feel like I could see their thought processes before they came to conclusions on stuff. I would be interested in watching the movie to see how they adapted it and what they chose to focus on. I don't know whether all of the animal stuff would have translated as well into the movie, and all of the stuff about the religion, I don't know whether the movie just focused on the androids, but yeah, I think the movie would be good. This did feel like a cinematic experience, so glad that I read it. I have also done the next roll for this vlog, so I will insert that footage here and then I'll tell you what book I ended up choosing for that prompt. Roll number 4 is a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is Time is Running Out. Read a short book that's under 300 pages. For our next roll, we landed on short book. So the book that I chose was White Cat, Black Dog by Kelly Link, which is a collection of short stories. It is also very short. It is less than 300 pages. Let me just triple check. Yeah, it's about 260 pages. I've actually almost finished this. I have half a short story left to go. I started listening to the last short story yesterday, so I should finish that actually on my lunch break. I'm gonna go out for a walk in a minute once I've finished updating this vlog. I have enjoyed this short story collection so far. They feel like adult fairy tales with a modern twist. In fact, several, or if not all of these short stories are inspired by fairy tales. So the first short story, which I really enjoyed, was The White Cat's Divorce. That is a retelling of The White Cat, which I think is a French fairy tale. Then the next one, Prince Hat Underground, that is a retelling of East of the Sun, West of the Moon, which I didn't realise is actually the inspiration behind A Court of Thorns and Roses. I think everyone talks about how it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it's actually closer to an East of the Sun, West of the Moon retelling. My favourite short story so far is the one that I'm currently listening to, which is Skinder's Veil. I also really love this illustration. I love the illustrations in this, but this one, it says here that it's inspired by Snow White and Rose Red. I don't know what that means, but basically we're following a guy who is house sitting. He's doing this to help out a friend, and he's basically told that there are only 2 rules. If the owner of the house shows up and knocks on the front door, don't let him in. However, if any of his friends arrive, they will knock on the back door and you must let them in. Yeah, it's very weird. All of these short stories so far have been a bit weird. I think what I'm struggling with is I often, when I think of fairy tales, I think of how they usually have some sort of message or moral of the story, and I don't feel like these have really done that. Some of them maybe, like the first one does have a clear moral or message. I know that Kelly Link does now have a full-length novel, which I would be interested in picking up. I actually saw it in Waterstones the other day, and it is chunky, a lot longer than I was expecting, considering this is obviously quite short, but I would be curious because I have enjoyed the writing in this so far. I'm actually going to do my next roll now. I mean, I've already done it, so I'm going to insert the footage here because I don't think I have much more to say about this book, and I want to talk to you about the next book that I'm going to be reading. Hopefully this is going to be the final roll. It's a 5, which brings us to Cracked the Case, read a 5-star prediction. So for the final roll, I need to read a 5-star prediction, and the book that I'm going with is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is on my February TBR. We've got just over a week left until the end of the month, so I would like to try and finish this before then. This has been on my TBR for ages. I'm also reading it for the Our Fantasy Bingo Challenge, which ends at the end of March, so I need to get this done. But this is a cozy sci-fi following the crew of the Wayfarer, which is a ship. I think it's very character driven, and we are just following these characters and their relationships and stuff like that. So I am going to start this hopefully tonight, and I will check in with you once I have some thoughts. But this is a 5-star prediction because I've heard loads of people love this, and everything I've heard about it makes me think that I'm going to enjoy it too. You know when you start reading a book and you instantly get a good feeling about it? That is how I'm feeling about The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which I've just realised why this is the title of the book. I'm getting into the plot now. Like, I'm only 100 pages in, so not much has really happened, and this isn't a plot heavy book. We're following the crew of this ship called the Wayfarer, and their job is to build pathways. I'm not good at the terminology, so please excuse me if I get anything wrong, but their job is to punch holes through the galaxy to enable better transport. There's not really one main character, but the first character that we're introduced to is called Rosemary, and she joins this crew, this ship, as an admin type assistant. Again, I'm not sure what her actual official job title is. She's joining this crew and she's learning more about them because there are multiple species who are part of this crew. It's really a story about found family. Already I am getting that feeling where I love these characters, I love their interactions, and even though I'm now at the point where we're learning what the plot is going to be, I don't care about the plot, I care about the characters. It's very wholesome and cute and cozy, and it's exactly what I want to be reading right now. So I am just having a great time. I don't even want to talk to the camera anymore. I want to go get back in bed and carry on reading this. I feel like I don't really have much more to say about it at this point, other than I just love the vibe. It's very much a vibe book, and it's a little bit longer than I was expecting. It's over 400 pages, but I feel like I'm reading it quite quickly because I'm just sinking into the story. I feel like I am part of this crew of this spaceship, and I've been transported, and it's just the kind of fantasy, not even fantasy, it's the kind of sci-fi that I love. There is a plane or a helicopter or something outside my house right now, so apologies if you can hear that, but I wanted to check in with you because I am almost halfway through The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I'm really enjoying this. I want to try and finish it by tomorrow or Thursday so I can get this vlog live before the end of the month. I was going to compare this to Legends and Lattes, and I think they do have a similar cozy vibe. However, the main difference with this is I feel like the stakes are a little bit higher and there's more world building. So essentially this is set in the far future where humans have left Earth, they've gone out into the galaxy and discovered other races and species. And yeah, we're learning a lot about the different species and it's so interesting. What actually is also interesting is the main negative reviews that I've seen for this have called this boring, and that is a similar issue that some people had with Legends and Lattes. But I really like cozy books, and someone saying that they found a book boring never puts me off because I tend to prefer books that other people describe as boring. I really love all the world building in this, and there was a point earlier that almost made me cry. I could feel myself tearing up, and I didn't quite sob, but I would be very surprised if I'm not crying by the end of this book, especially given something that we've learned recently, which I'm not going to talk about because of spoilers, but I feel like this book is going to get emotional and I don't know if I'm ready for it, but also I'm really loving this. It is giving me 5-star feelings and it could be a favourite book of the year, which is really exciting. I know that this is also part of a series, but I've heard that you can read them as standalones because they each contain a different story. I don't think I actually explained what the plot is for this, but essentially the crew of this ship called the Wayfarer, they've been given this job where they're going to be paid a lot of money, but it means being away from their home towns. It means that they're going to be on this ship for a very long time because it's a long way away, hence why it's called The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Also, the place where they're going, there's been some conflict there, so it's quite dangerous. And obviously the main character that we're following is Rosemary, and she is still relatively young and inexperienced, and most of her knowledge comes from studying at university, and she's having to put those skills into practice in the real world. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying this so far. It is almost time to wrap up this vlog because I have now finished The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I only finished this a few hours ago, so I haven't had much time to process my thoughts, but I loved this. Easy 5 stars, one of the easiest 5 stars I think I've given in a while. I loved the characters in this. If you've read this and you're curious who my favourite character is, I really loved Ashby. I feel like he's quite an understated character. He's the captain of the ship for anyone who has not read this, and I loved how this book had a very clear message around acceptance and understanding people who are different to you, and I think that Captain Ashby really embodied that, and you could just feel how much he cared for the rest of the crew. I also really loved Kizzy and her chaotic energy. I just loved all of the dynamics in this, and I'm really sad in a way that the second book doesn't follow these same characters. I know it follows a side character in this, and I am really curious about that, but yeah, I just need more of these characters. As you've gathered, I will be continuing this series. I don't know when, because it's not one of my priority series for this year, or it wasn't until I gave this first book 5 stars, so now I'm in trouble. But yeah, really glad that I read this. I should have read it years ago. I've owned it for years, and this was actually one of the first sci-fi books that was ever recommended to me, so yeah, glad I finally got round to it. I am going to be wrapping up this reading vlog here though, so thank you for watching if you made it this far. Let me know in the comments if you were also taking part in Forensic February and what you ended up reading. As I said at the beginning of this vlog, I hope I will have Chloe's channel linked in the description just in case you would like to check that out. But otherwise, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me. But otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye.